Wolfy was an orphan after her brother Jeffrey Woods killed their parents and their brother Louis Woods. She was staying with their dying Aunt Lisa in her last months and was supposed to come once she passed. However, that wasn't how things turned out on her end. Aunt Lisa got better, and once the news of the tragedy came upon them, she was granted custody of Wolfy. Lisa was a cruel, abusive woman. She worked Wolfy like a dog and rarely fed her. She often let her son fondle and torture Wolfy. They took joy in beating on her daily. But Wolfy endured it all without complaint because she was too busy wondering about her brother Jeff and what had become of him. She remained this way for 3 months, until one night as she lay in her toy box, crushed into a space smaller than her, it happened. The feeling was mixed with pain, but it was not physical nor mental. It was just pain. But the feeling seemed to be sending a sensation through her of curiosity. On her 14th birthday, 5 years had passed, and the feeling had come back with great force. Wolfy was finishing crocheting a scarf so thick and long that it covered her neck to her nose with one wrap and came to her knees, when Chris yanked her up by the long black tendrils of her hair.
"Let's play a game,"
Chris smiled, holding out huge wolf ears and a tail. Wolfy gulped as the 18-year-old bound her to the bed. He laid the ears and tail beside her and produced surgical tools. After all, he majored in cosmetic and spinal reconstruction. Wolfy panicked and thrashed around desperately as he brought the scalpel to the lobe of her ear and pulled her ear tight with his free hand. He began his task, smiling at painful shrill shrieks escaping Wolfy's plump ruby lips. Once the task was done, Chris stood back to praise his work, tail and ears fully functional and all. Wolfy's head lolled, swimming in the abyss of pain and confusion. The feeling, bigger, stronger, now at the center of the abyss, trumped all her agony and pain. "Marvelous, my son, truly magnificent," Lisa laughed, gleaming with envy at Wolfy, who was now letting her head loll from side to side in a curious manner. "Thank you, Moth. I'm gonna rip out your throats," Wolfy laughed, her voice so soft and calm. But something about her tone was paralyzing.
"I beg your pardon,"
Chris gasped. "What did you just say, you ungrateful little—" Lisa growled. "You're so dead, and you don't even know it. I'm gonna rip your throats out. Tell you what, let's make it a game. You can be the little piggies, and I'll be the big bad wolf. Only this time, the wolf wins." Her laugh was sweet and soft, yet insane as she raised her head. The sound of the window breaking startled them, long enough for Wolfy to slip free from her restraints. There on the shattered glass he stood, tall and frightening, Jeff, his everlasting smile widening, his eyes scanning around the room, hungry for the kill. Once Jeff locked eyes with Wolfy, everything froze. Her world exploded with joy and curiosity. Her light green eyes turned into yellow cat eyes, and she turned on her heels to face Chris and Lisa. "You piggies should be running," she laughed, putting the black scarf on so that she was concealed a bit. As soon as she stepped forward, they staggered back, scrambling away. Thus the game began. Wolfy chased them around, wearing them down. As she skipped eagerly behind them, Jeff simply enjoyed the show as Wolfy toyed with them, blocking exits, cutting off the power, cutting cords, and hiding phones. Finally huddled in a corner, scared and exhausted, their fates were sealed. Wolfy, much to her name, prowling around them like a curious, hungry wolf, she made her move. Jeff laughed at their pleading screams and the snapping of their limbs, up to the girly little giggles escaping Wolfy's lips as she grabbed onto their jugulars and ripped them out, a dog-toothed smile on her face as blood sprayed her. "Came over," she laughed. When she turned to face her brother, she was shot repeatedly, but she did not fall. The shots had missed, except for one which was buried in her forearm. It was the neighbor's, but there was a creature covered in mouths standing between them.
Ah, Jeffrey Woods, a pleasant surprise. And Wolfy Woods, is it? Jeff never mentioned having a sister.
The creature spoke. "Stay away from her, Zalgo," Jeff snapped, raising 2 huge kitchen knives and curling his body like he was about to attack the creature.
Now, Jeffrey, just because we're enemies does not mean I can't bestow her a gift. If she's anything like her brothers, she'll be a fine killer. Tell me, does it run in the family? Or is it just a hobby the 3 of you share?
Zalgo laughed, looking at the mangled corpses on the floor beside her. Zalgo smiled at Wolfy, whose ears were perked in curiosity. "No!" Jeff yelled as Zalgo picked Wolfy up by the throat. A dark aura surrounded them. Wolfy struggled against Zalgo desperately as pain exploded inside her. She died and survived at the same time. She evolved. As soon as Zalgo dropped her, she landed on her feet with a soft thump, and her eye had changed color once more to suit the anger inside her. She leapt to attack Zalgo, but he, faster than she, disappeared. Unsatisfied, she leapt at the man in the door who was paralyzed with fear and tore out his throat, screaming, "Game over!" at him as he bled out. Wolfy wanted so badly to kill Zalgo for what he had done to her that she didn't notice Jeff picking her up like he was giving her a piggyback ride until he started walking. Wolfy slumped in exhaustion and was glad for the bond that had been created for her and her brother. "I killed our family and almost killed our brother, but I won't. No, I can't kill her," Jeff thought as he carried his sleeping sister away from the scene of her first kill.